Yeah, Pasa YouTube, Kerubin here tonight with some the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia content. As a lot of you may have noticed earlier today, on Twitter, Sq Enix did drop the Aranea skill video, basically detailing what she's gonna be doing for her Brave attack, her HP attack plus, her Command 1, her Command 2. We're gonna go ahead and watch this video just on first glance. I've already seen this a couple of times, but I'm definitely just gonna give my honest reactions when I view it because you guys deserve that. And after we watch the video, we're gonna pause it around and we're gonna go ahead and dissect the video. I did watch somebody earlier, just do something what I'm doing right now, but he did leave out a couple of details. I'm not sure if he put it in his comments or anything pinned, but I'm gonna point out some things that other content creators may have actually missed, and this was something I was speaking about earlier with my friend Zeta on the cord. So we're gonna go ahead and watch this right now. Ooh, that's a 150% overflow. That's already really strong. I'll try. 180% overflow. And delays targets 2 turns. Ooh, that's scary. Increases brave by 20% on max brave. Alright. High boost lance. Ooh, that's nice. Not bad. 21.1 to 31. That doesn't look like 120% overflow to me. 150% overflow with Vitalcrusher. Ooh. And Vitalcrusher, from what I just saw, actually, I gotta read that. Oh, that's actually, wow. It's so simple, but it's so strong. I'm sorry, my reaction sounds really not genuine. Yeah, I know this is just a dead build footage, but they done goofed on the play of it. I would have done the plus version of the dive. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and see this. So, alright, so 6 turns Magitek Armament. Magitek Armament without the 15 CP is 20% attack, 20% max brave, 10% speed, and 30% brave regen. That's not bad. 30% of eye brave for regen, which is really good. Not good. That's kind of alright. But then when you're getting to like with the 15 CP, which is what I would assume the majority of you guys are going to be doing, 40% attack and max brave boost, 20% speed increase, and 60% eye brave regen. That is, ooh, I like it. Like the other YouTuber said earlier, Lids, when I was watching his video, easily pair with Rosa. You can pair her with Lena. You could probably even pair her with Ignis. That's just fun. Those are already really good units you can pair her with just to give her more auras and regen capabilities, which is very good. And if you're against like a HP trigger happy boss, you can easily just put the level 30 Leviathan on top of that. Oh, the brave regen for days. And if inflicting break on a target, 2 turns without the 15 CP passive, and 4 turns with the 15 passive is Overclock. Overclock gives a 30% attack boost and 30% overflow while upgrading her abilities. So here's the thing. I kind of called it. I was pretty close with her first skill. Obviously different name, but I was pretty close with the Brave hits itself being, I put it like at 7 hits plus Brave HP, 7 hit Brave to HP attack, and practically the same overflow also. I was pretty okay with these two. I believe my friend Jack on the Discord mentioned that my buffs on the document were very similar to what they're giving Aranea coming Sunday. And yeah, it's very strong, honestly. And like he mentioned also, like slight less potencies, but they gave her more stuff than what I was giving her. Because I gave her like a 50% attack and Brave boost for like her frame buff. And then her second frame buff, she got something else. And then a third frame buff from the EX, but that's wow, okay. 70% attack up with 40% max brave, 20% speed, and 60% eye brave regen. And very, very notably speaking here, plus 30% overflow for stolen brave. Keep this in mind. I'm gonna mention something later, and I'm not gonna lie, upgrading the abilities was I kind of called it, but I was doing it for shits and giggles, which is the hilarious part. I made it so her EX buff like turned her Brave and HP commands and her Brave HP commands and her skill 1-2 to her plus variants. And wouldn't you know it, apparently Overclock does that already. Which, that's hilarious. And another thing to note is a 50% critical damage. This is actually very, very, very important. This is not very, very important, but like this is important information that we're gonna need to come back to when we get to our skill 2. Dragoon Dive Plus, same thing with Magitek Armament, gives it for 6 turns. 100, same thing, 6 brave to HP attack, 180% overflow, and delays target by 2 turns during overclock. Here's the thing, this says during overclock. So while you have overclock active, Dragoon Dive Plus base is 180% overflow and delays the target by 2 turns. I'm gonna say this now, and this is something that Joshua actually mentioned earlier today as well, for those who are confused about it. That's before the 180% overflow is before the overclock buff. So instead of seeing a 180 overflow with overclock on Dragoon Dive Plus, Dragoon Dive Plus is essentially a 6 brave to HP attack, a 6 hit single target brave to single target HP attack with 210% overflow. 210% overflow. Keep that in mind. That's pretty absurd. And wow. Also, let's target by 2 turns. This reminds me of Leo in the JP version with his command 2 being able to delay targets by 2 turns. Granted, it's a 4 hit to HP attack, a 4 hit single target brave to single target HP attack executed 3 times. But it's essentially what Aranea does. Delays target by 2 turns. And still with the critical damage of 50% boost. This is very strong. I personally, I like it. And wow. Now that I'm sitting here dissecting this, is very powerful. And it says here in the video, so the EX weapon here is maxed out base, not realized. This is a non-boosted Aranea, so you can basically take this Aranea into an FEOD and expect these kind of numbers in a base heretic level. Context subject to change as always. Death build footage, always great. So this is good. I like it. Boost lands is increases brave by 20. So boost lands here increases her brave by 20% of her max brave before executing a 3-hit single target brave attack with a high turn rate, which is pretty good. So you can kind of, if you execute it at a right time, you can go into boost lance into Dragoon Dive and get a nice little get extra chip damage that you other and get extra damage you might not have otherwise gotten. And mind you, this still gains the benefit of the 30% overflow buff from overclock. So you can still hit overflow with this. Do keep that in mind. Alright, so high boost lance, 2-hit group brave, 2-hit AoE brave to single target HP attack with 120% overflow and 10% splash HP damage. If inflicting break or attacking an enemy afflicted with break, it increases to 30%. This is a very good one. This actually reminds me kind of like Yang, in a sense, with his HP plus. I believe his HP plus actually does something similar. Which I'm not gonna lie, splash damage is always great. AoE brave attacks is always great to keep multiple bosses in check. As QE Jet and other veteran YouTube content creators here say. Mind you, this is during overclock, so we're gonna play this real quick, and I'm gonna show you what I mean by like this. So, brave overflow plus 30%. Keep that in mind. 31,723 HP damage from the 21,149. Does that look like 120% overflow to you guys? No. So overclock does in fact stack on top of the overflow that's given 2 skills on their upgraded ability on their plus variants in this case during overclock. So in reality, high boost lands during overclock. In reality, it's a 2-hit AoE brave to single target HP attack with 150% overflow that can deal either 10% splash damage or 30% splash damage. Very nice in my opinion. I like it. She can do some insane numbers with this. Highwind cancels target's break, then inflicts a target with 2 turns of Vitalcrusher, goes into a 6-hit AoE brave into a single target HP attack with 150% overflow. This is base Highwind, just mind you. And when inflicting break on a target, grants overclock to herself for 4 turns, 2 turns without 35 CP. So, also this also does additional 50% with critical damage when dealing critical damage. So, just to break this down, she cancels a target's target's break, meaning that she is guaranteed to grant herself overclock with this ability. That's amazing. Meaning, like, if you know you're not gonna get a break with Dragoon Dive on a boss on one of the bosses that have an intense amount of brave, and you have this feeling that you won't break him, but you have another boss in the chaos stage where he's already broken, you can opt into doing Highwind, cancel that boss's break status, re-break him as Vayne would or as Noelle would, and get yourself a guaranteed overclock boost for 4 turns, while also inflicting 2 turns of Vitalcrusher, and Vitalcrusher makes everything become a critical hit, guaranteed, which at the same time receives critical damage is 1.5 times the amount of damage. this stacks with the 50% plus critical damage from her skills, meaning that essentially you're dealing twice as much damage when using her skills while a target is inflicted with Vitalcrusher. This is very, very key. She obviously, yes, is a selfish attacker, but when you look at the niches she can pull off, she is very worth the hype. She validates that hype given out to her. I've said it many times to other people in the Discord and other posts that the content creators make on the community chats in YouTube. Aranea guaranteed has my 75k pity if it comes down to it. And yeah, so this is really good. This is a really good skill. So we're gonna watch her do this again, where you break the target. Easy re-break into overclock. Now, here's the thing. During overclock, you still have 150% overflow. But now it increases to 80% splash damage with 50% without 35 CP. The base form I forgot to mention does 50% splash damage and 20% without the 35. Let me just double check that. Yes, I am right. 20%. Remember, overclock stacks with whatever overflow they already have on the plus variant. So this is actually a 6-hit AoE brave into single target HP attack that inflicts Vitalcrusher and re-breaks a target that goes up to 180% overflow with the 50% bonus critical damage. So yeah, it's very key, very crucial. This is very powerful. This actually reminds me of Yang's kick plus ability, because I believe after his rework he does yes, he does get a rework later on in Porum Lost Chapter when it comes up in global. His kick plus does about 80% splash HP damage, or 100%, I can't remember too well. But same with his EX, when it comes out, does about 80% splash damage. So yeah, this is very powerful. And she does have 7 uses of her Dragoon Dive and 8 uses of her Highwind, which is great. So that means she has a pretty good split. For a Chaos era, I like it. And I'm looking at the air superiority here. It's definitely a plus variant with overclock active and a base variant without overclock. A lot of the people on the Discord, including myself, are expecting this to be a guaranteed launch, because let's be honest, that's what Aranea's it's what she's known for: aerial combat, aerial maneuvers. It's what she's best at doing. All right, let's keep watching this. Oh, whoops. See, now here, even though this is a dev build, I disagree with this. I would have, in a situation like this where you know she can break 15k, I would have said Dragoon Dive plus, break the target, delay it by 2 turns, essentially giving a 3-turn delay, then go into Highwind plus, thus allowing it another re-break and just rinse and repeat that cycle. That's how I view it, at least. So, when it comes down to that, guys, when it comes down to that, She's very, very powerful. If you want my honest opinion on it, yes, she is. She by her base kit alone. Before we get to the EX plus an additional ability, aka C65, that is strong. Let's say we were back during the Cosmos and the EX era. This type of kit, without an EX, I would pull for immediately. That's just how strong it is, even during the Cosmos era. If she came without the EX, that's just how strong she is. She would have literally been a 35 CP legend. Obviously she's coming in way earlier than she's supposed to. She's at least from what I'm hearing on Discord and on the JP side. It's speculated that she should be arriving in JP within the next 4 or 5 months, which is essentially at that point the middle of the Lufenia / LD era. Lufenia is essentially a difficulty that's much harder than Chaos, more HP, new mechanics. It's very painful. Trust me. If you see one of my videos doing a JP run for the Lufenia for Kurosame, whew, oh man, you're gonna see some fun stuff. And then the LD weapons are essentially the new weapon that come out after the Chaos era ends, or towards the very late Chaos era, the end of it, basically, that essentially give you a very another ability from that weapon, and woo, it's very powerful. If you guys are keeping up with at least the JP information, you should know that you might know that Kuja just got his LD, and oh my gosh, oh boy, that's like stronger than practically most characters. Like best perfect setups, their burst attacks. Oh man, oh man, it's scary. Now what we can probably expect from the EX plus, we're going with 0 out of 3 to 3 out of 3. Honestly speaking, I'm like, if we're being realistic at this point, I'm assuming her base EX will have some type of guaranteed launch. Probably 6 or 7 hits Brave HP to Brave single target, or AoE Brave into single target HP attack. Might do some type of splash damage, and definitely I'm expecting a launch, hands down. Obviously, base EX, you're gonna have the standard increase the potency, raise the recast speed, and things of that nature. Probably maybe even go on a limb and say like 1 out of 3 raise the potency of her base EX skill, 2 out of 3 increase the recast, and 3 out of 3 base EX probably increase her attack and max brave by set amount. Probably. I'm just going on a limb here. 0 out of 3 plus is where I'm gonna go on a limb and say greatly increases the potency boost of her EX. Will probably grant overclock itself when breaking a target, or upon EX usage anyway. I'm gonna assume that, honestly. And definitely, I think that's probably it just for that. At 1 out of 3, obviously give her a nice moderate boost to attack and max brave. Probably give it 60% each at this point. If she's supposed to be coming out during the LD era, she definitely needs to have that type of potency increase, just for her to keep up with the JP side. If we're getting her this early, obviously they can't really nerf anything about the EX plus. at this point, Square Enix has no reason to send us a nerfed Aranea. We're pretty much getting a full-powered Aranea, minus the LD, character boards, and the Crystal 80 that's coming up at the end of the month for JP. We're pretty much getting Aranea at like 70-80% of her actual max power. Again, due to lack of character boards, lack of Crystal 80, and lack of the LD. Character boards, I'm pretty sure, like, I'm not expecting it, but I'm personally hoping, wishful thinking, that Square Enix on the global side might throw us a bone and give us early character boards, which, ooh, that would be amazing. What was I gonna say? 2 out of 3, I'm actually hoping that they grant her a new buff and the extended duration of the overclock buff at least by 2 turns. And obviously upon usage of the EX grants this new buff. Maybe. I'm probably gonna scratch that off, honestly. Let's just say +2 duration to overclock, or even +4 duration to overclock, if we want to be very generous with it. Start quest with Magitek, with the Magitek buff and overclock buff for 6 turns at start of quest. I think that should be a very very standard at this point in time, as well as I'm gonna go on a limb and say here, like, while overclock is active and the Magitek buff is active, probably upgrade the See, that's what I was missing. 0 out of 3, turn high boost lands and high boost lands to the plus variants, and then at 2 out of 3, leave it at the way I was about to mention, and at 3 out of 3, probably turn her air superiority into obviously, again, a guarantee launch, so that's the basic EX would normally have it, and make it so that the EX executes twice, and upon breaking a target or attacking a target afflicted with break, then at that point, she would jump ahead to the front of the launch cycle, where she would have 3 turns to herself and potentially get some very nice. I'm honestly hoping maybe some type of chase sequence specific BRV HP attacks, because that would be utterly amazing for her to have. She would be like another Keys in JP. Keys, for those of you who don't keep up with JP, is essentially who kind of revolutionized the launch meta again after Leo's, I guess you can say, lackluster EX Plus that's going to come next month in Global. Not to say that Leo's not good. It's just when you bring Keys into perspective in a couple of months from now, you're going to see why he blows Leo out of the water in terms of chase meta. But back to Aranea, that's what I'm expecting for the EX Plus. Potentially even a plus variant of her boost lance and high boost lance. And that's really about it for the EX Plus. Her C65, I'm very much expecting her to... What can I say? There's a couple of options here. One is to reset the target's break. It's a very plausible option that she can have. Probably like probably like 3 uses of that at that point. B, to recover 1 use of both Command 1 and Command 2, while still giving a marginal to small attack up boost with the Bloomstone passive. C, either probably recover uses of Command probably command 1 or 2, take your pick, and with the Bloomstone passive, put it up to 3 uses total. Not far-fetched. A couple of units already have that. You can look at Eject. Fran down the road does get that as well. And Lightning with the when she gets hers level 70 Awakening and EX plus, her 665 will reset a target's break status. It'll reset. Same thing with Cloud of Darkness in 4 months from now at this point. Just because we just got Ignis Chapter. 2 months from now we'll get Leo, and 2 months after Leo we'll get Cloud of Darkness. Cloud of Darkness has that same mechanic except magic wise. And then the last one, which also is not that far off, gives herself overclock for X amount of turns. Probably like 2 turns. And with the Bloomstone passive, maybe add 2 more uses and increase the duration by 2 turns. So probably like at that point, 3 uses of setting her overclock buff to 4 turns whenever she needs to pop it. It's not far-fetched. Garland actually has that for his C65 to set his Soul of Discord. It even increases his Brave, so we can even include that for Aranea at that point. Increase her Brave by either her attack stat or her max Brave stat, while granting the overclock buff. And I know Lid says something about something similar to where Machina or even Lee's at this point as well. I can make an analogy to that. Machina's Awakening buff with C65 bloomed increases his duration of the buff by 5 turns. Same with Lee's C65 does the same thing. Small attacker with the Bloomstone passive increases her Fist of Fire buff by 5 turns. So I can see that also being a thing with Aranea as well. Those are the 5 options. Of those 5 options, we're more likely to see either reset the break status, grant herself the overclock buff for X turns, for X amount of uses, or increase her amount of overclock buff usage by X amount of turns with the Bloomstone passive. Those are the 3 most likely that we'll probably see. It's one of those 3. It could be a combination of them even. Honestly, at that point. And yeah, honestly, Aranea already, like, just by base 1535 CP alone has massive potential. Her EX and EX Plus can only make her better at this point. I really hope that Square doesn't fuck up and make her EX somehow lackluster compared to her actual skills, because then, oh man, I'll be heartbroken. Definitely hoping for some type of either skill recovery like Vayne gets, or a free skill usage, like Golbez does. Yeah. I mean, that's all I really gotta say at this point. Sorry for the long rambling. Sorry about the massive speculation. Just wanted to get this out there, and yeah, obviously you can tell my hype for Aranea is through the roof with this video being over half an hour. For those of you who have actually stayed and watched the entire video at this point, you have my many thanks. And for those of you who also watched this video, please like, comment, subscribe. Feedback and suggestions are always appreciated. And I will be doing another video like this tomorrow when Square reveals her EX, her base EX, her EX Plus, and her additional ability. We're going to see what happens tomorrow with that. Hopefully, myself or a couple of other YouTube content creators for DFFOO are either spot on the mark, on the bullseye, or like just around the ballpark. Yeah, that's about it, guys. That's all I gotta say. This is Kerubin signing out. Peace.